The Philippines already is very popular as a tourist destination, but now with the borders opening up and especially with my family coming later this year, I get the one question asked so many times: what should I do in the Philippines? Well, today I decided to make a very quick video for you guys to be able to put together your own perfect holiday itinerary in the Philippines. The Philippines has a lot to offer, from beautiful white sand beaches to amazing waves to surf on, but also it has a lot of historic places, beautiful churches, and of course a lot of food to try. But depending on what kind of traveler you are, there are different options that you will have when coming to the Philippines. I would always recommend coming to the Philippines via either the two big cities, Manila and Cebu, and not just traveling right on from those cities, but spend a little bit of time in those cities because there is a lot to explore and a lot to do. Now, the biggest mistake, and I've said this already very often on this vlog, the biggest mistake people make is they just stay close to the airport when they visit Manila and look at the areas around the airport when there is so much more to do. If you're a foodie and you love fine dining, there is a fantastic restaurant called Toyo Eatery. It's a little bit higher priced, but you really get the full-on fine dining experience and you get to try a twist on Filipino food. But if you're on a little bit of a budget, you can also try out Manam restaurant. There are a few locations throughout Makati and BGC that you can try, and the food is really, really delicious. The recipes that they have, they are more traditional than if you go to Toyo Eatery, the fine dining experience. But if you want the full-on authentic Filipino food experience, then you need to visit one of the many street food locations around the metro. If you don't want to venture out too far away from the airport, there are actually some street food markets closer to the airport, like at the Mall of Asia, but also there are a lot of street food markets and jolly jeeps that are within Makati and BGC. You can get street food at the Sunday market in Legazpi, or you can also get street food at the Saturday market in Salcedo. So if you happen to be here on the weekends, I'd highly recommend those places. Now, with that food question out of the way, what else can you do in Manila? So if you're into the history, if you're very interested in the history of the Philippines, a place that I can highly recommend is Intramuros. You can walk around the old city of Manila and really experience a lot of history, a lot of architecture, beautiful churches, beautiful buildings, and a lot of historic places. If you're going to Intramuros, I would recommend that you do it early in the morning or very late in the afternoon, because it does get very, very hot in Manila. And if you're going to be walking around those areas, you don't want to be in the midday sun. If you feel like seeing the more modern side of the Philippines or the more modern side of Manila, I definitely can recommend BGC. That is also where I live. BGC has so much to offer, from shopping to amazing restaurants, cocktail bars, coffee shops, and just beautiful parks to take a walk in. Another place I can highly recommend is Makati. It is a little bit less accessible by foot, but you also have amazing malls, restaurants, bars, coffee shops, everything is there. Now, if you want a little bit more diversity and you're willing to travel a little bit further, Quezon City is also worth checking out. There are a lot of very small, unique and independent restaurants that you can check out in Quezon City. There's a lot to do and there's a lot just packed together on a very small space. So Quezon City definitely also should be on your list if you've already visited Makati, BGC and those other locations. Okay, now you got that layover in Manila out of the way. Where should you travel next? Well, Philippines has a lot to offer. If you're into surfing, you can either fly straight to Siargao, where you can surf all year, or if it's the season, you can also travel up to La Union, which will be a little bit cheaper because you can take a bus ride up there versus having to fly to Siargao. And generally speaking, the hotels are a little bit less expensive in La Union. One thing that La Union doesn't have is island hopping. So if you really want to see the turquoise waters of the Philippines, the white sand beaches of the Philippines, and you want to go surfing, then Siargao is definitely the location for you. As I mentioned before, you will have surf throughout the year. They have really good instructors, they have really good surf schools. I can recommend a few of them. If you like, just ask me in the comments down below. But you also have island hopping tours that will take you to stunningly beautiful islands that have white sand beaches, turquoise waters, and you'll be able to taste Filipino food on those island hopping tours as well. Now, the only big downside of Siargao is that the ticket prices to fly there are rather expensive right now, and hotels are also not that cheap. But We have a dedicated video about Siargao, and we have a guide of Siargao that is linked in the description box down below, where you can check out our hotel recommendations. I think it is important to support the island of Siargao that just recently got devastated by a bad storm. So they've just rebuilt and opened up everything, so they are ready for tourists, and will definitely appreciate a new influx of travelers. Now, if surfing is not your thing and you want to relax, hang out by the beach, or just do the island hopping tours, then I definitely can recommend El Nido or Coron. Now, El Nido and Coron are really very different, but they are both located in Palawan. If you have a few days, you can actually visit both, because it's just a short boat ride that connects Coron and El Nido. Both islands offer a ton of island hopping and a ton of activities. So if you want to explore, if you want to see new things, if you want to experience phenomenal things, you can definitely do that as well. If you are adventurous, there's actually a 4-day expedition that will take you from El Nido to Coron or vice versa, and you will actually be able to stay on secluded islands overnight. Food and everything is included. My favorite company is Kiluma. We did a tour with them a few years ago and it was absolutely amazing. I will link the video up here and I'll put the details in the description box down below. Highly recommended. Now, if you don't want to do any island hopping and you just want to enjoy a beautiful white sand beach, and you want to enjoy the luxury of stunning resorts, 5-star hotel experiences, then Boracay is the place to go. Boracay is a very small island that is located not too far away from Manila. It's really easy to get there, and they have a ton of resorts ranging from budget prices all the way up to super luxury. There's even a golf course there, and there are a lot of restaurants. If you want to party, Boracay also has you covered, as there is a club, but there are a ton of bars and there are a lot of activities at the beach. One amazing thing to do in Boracay is to take a sailing trip during sunset. It is absolutely mind-blowing. Sunsets in Boracay just hit completely different. Now, if you're coming to the Philippines and scuba diving is your thing, I've got you covered. The Philippines has some amazing diving spots. Both Apo Reef and Apo Island are really amazing. Nelly just visited Apo Island and did some amazing vlogs. Her channel is linked in the description box down below. But also some other places like Malapascua, where you get to dive with the famous thresher sharks. It is quite a challenge to actually meet them, but it is well worth the effort. And then there is also Panglao that is located off the island of Bohol. Really great scuba diving experiences, really nice. Now, if all the aforementioned places are not for you and the activities are not for you, the Philippines has a lot more to offer. If you're more into nature and exploring a little bit on a beautiful tiny island, Bohol is definitely the place for you to go. Bohol has a lot of activities. It is quite nice to ride around the island on a scooter and just explore by yourself. You do have the scuba diving as well in Panglao, but you can also just go snorkeling. Now, Bohol is very close to Cebu, so if you are flying into Cebu, you can actually just take a ferry from Cebu directly to Bohol and enjoy. And then the last place that I can recommend is also Cebu City and Cebu Island. Cebu City has a lot of activities, a lot of food, a lot of bars and coffee shops. I am actually flying to Cebu City in just 2 hours to explore a little bit more, but Cebu Island as a whole has a lot of great places to discover, like Bohol, where you can experience swimming with the sardines. They call it the sardine run. Or you can also go to Oslo to swim with the whale sharks. Not the most sustainable way to experience whale sharks, and not the way that I would go, but if you're in the area and you really want to explore or really want to experience whale sharks, there is that option. Malapascua is also located in Cebu Island, and also Bantayan, which I unfortunately not have yet had the chance to experience. Of course, there are a ton of different places to explore in the Philippines, especially if you're a local tourist. There's a lot to explore in Luzon, there's a lot to explore in Bicol, but I think that would make this video way too long, and if you like, I can make a second video about that. Let me know if these tips were helpful for you. Let me know what kind of traveler you are, what kind of things that you love to explore in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. Remember to stay awesome, be positive, and make it happen. Bye-bye.